It's again Thursday, May 24th, 2018, but this time it's Van Ran 10 on sports. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put these on. I'm going to put on glasses. Hopefully, what I'm hoping is because I'm wearing the same shirt, because of course I'm filming these videos back to back. So I'm hoping I should be able to differentiate the two, but it's like, because I got to know which one to properly title. So, this is Van Ran 10 on sports, and we are going to talk about let's get NASCAR more money. NASCAR needs more money. They're losing money. They need more sponsors, more money. How can we get them more money? Well, first off, during the recession, a lot of people left NASCAR. A lot of big sponsors left NASCAR because it wasn't worth their money to watch cars go around in a circle. Even though they may love NASCAR, I love NASCAR, of course. I talk about it a bunch on this channel. But let's face it, there are a lot of people out there, that advertisers that don't feel like the rolling billboards have the same effect that they used to. They don't bring in the money. Because I think a lot of them, what they finally started seeing was that they started understanding it's like, okay, let's say Jimmy Johnson and Joey Logano were both having a real good race, and they're constantly battling at the front. Well, that means Pennzoil and Lowe's are going to get a lot of exposure because they're having a good battle up front, and everybody else is just kind of, they're invisible. They're invisible to the people at home. They're invisible to us watching on TV. We don't see them. So we don't see all the sponsors. We don't see Miller Lite on Brad Keselowski's car. We don't see Mobil 1 on Clint Boyer's car. We don't see, we don't see M&M's on Kyle Busch's car. We don't see, Furniture Row or Bass Pro Shops or Tracker Boats on Martin Truex Jr.'s car. We don't see those sponsors because they're not on TV. We're not able to watch them. These sponsors are paying a lot of money. It costs $20 million a year to run a NASCAR team. $20 million a year. Now, who funds that? Sponsors fund that. So you've got to convince sponsors to spend $20 million on advertising on a paint job on a car where they may be on TV. They may be on TV for an hour. Or if their driver isn't doing so good, they may be on TV for 5 minutes. 5 minutes. You're paying $20 million. And the car's not doing good. Now, how can NASCAR basically bring the sponsors back? How can NASCAR basically tell the sponsors, it's like, look, we got to find a way so that your cars or your sponsors are still seen even if your car is not there. Let's say Jimmy Johnson wrecks on lap 1. Well, that means Lowe's has no car out there being seen for the rest of the race. There's going to be another 499 miles that you're not going to see the Lowe's car. Just not. It's crashed. It's junk. So you're not going to see it for 499 miles. So for the next 3.5 hours of the race, Lowe's is basically just going, our car's not out there. I'm out. So, how can you make it worth their while? Well, let's look at this. Lowe's has to probably pay $20 million a year to Jimmy Johnson to sponsor his race team. Any team that has just one sponsor, they have to pay $20 million. Now, I came from a generation where everybody had one sponsor the whole year. Dale Earnhardt had Wrangler Jeans Chevrolet the whole year. Bill Elliott had Coors. Like Jeff Bodine had Levi Garrett. It was the same paint job the whole year in the 80s because it didn't cost as much, and it's like the money was free back then. The money, not free, but I mean that a lot of those companies felt like it was worth it to spend the money that they were spending in NASCAR in the 80s for an entire season. So you didn't have to change the paint jobs. But if you notice now, you'll see a lot of cars, they'll have 4 or 5 different sponsors. Even championship winning drivers have a couple of different sponsors. Now, I think Lowe's might be the only exception to this, where they're on the car the whole year. But you look at some other ones, and they share sponsorship throughout the year because they're trying to share cost. Because very few of these sponsors want to put up $20 million a year. So here's what you do. You got to find a way to get those sponsors on TV even when their car isn't on TV. So if you are going to show Jimmy Johnson battling with Joey Logano, Pennzoil versus Lowe's, you got to find a way to show other sponsors on that racetrack somehow. Now, every racetrack has those nice little retaining walls that go all the way around, except for the road courses. This is where it gets tricky. The road courses will be tougher, but there is still a way to do this. So, all racetracks, all the circles, all the ovals, all the super speedways, all the short tracks, all the mile-and-a-halfers have the big white retaining walls that go around the outside. Now, I think a couple of them might have some striped walls and whatnot, but we're going to have to get rid of those. Because to do what we're going to do, we need a clean white wall. So what are we going to do? We're going to put the sponsors on that wall digitally. You've probably seen it when you're watching football or baseball or something like that, where they'll put the graphic on the field. Now, of course, the people in the stands don't see that graphic, just us at home watching on TV. So now you do it in NASCAR. And I get it might be tough to do with moving shots, but any solid shot where you just show the cars coming like down the straightaway or something, or you put the sponsors around the retaining wall. For those sponsors that have invested the money in sponsoring a team for the year, give them the opportunity to have theirs shown have their sponsorship still shown on the wall. So even if their car's not on screen, it's still being digitally projected onto the white wall so that us at home can still see it. So, and it's not taking anybody's sponsorship. I'm not talking about, because there are billboards, giant billboards all around a lot of these racetracks that have sponsors on them. I'm not talking about taking their space or even putting something up over them. Don't do that, because they paid for that space and they deserve to be seen. But that white wall that goes around is usually just a white wall. It might say the track's name and that's it. And it's like, let's face it, they say the track's name 100 times when you're watching the race. I don't need to see that it says Martinsville. I know they're at Martinsville. I know what it looks like. Most NASCAR fans that are watching, we know what Martinsville looks like. The mile-and-a-halfers are the only ones that might need it, but I can tell the difference between Michigan and Michigan might be a 2-mile track, so that might be wrong. But I can tell the difference between California, Texas, and Kansas. So it's not a big deal to cover up their names. We'll know where they are because they'll say it 1,000 times during the broadcast. So what you do, and come up with the technology. If the technology doesn't exist to put those things up on the walls for a moving shot, a moving camera shot, come up with the technology to do it. Because this will help NASCAR bring back some of their sponsors. Because they're going to say, look, even when your car's not on the screen, your sponsor will be. Your name will still be there so that the people that are watching can still see it in the background. It'll still be there for them to see. So, like I said, if Jimmy Johnson and Joey Logano were battling it out, maybe as they're following the two cars, you'll see on the retaining wall, you will see digital projections of, Miller Lite, Mobile One, STP, whoever else is sponsoring cars out there, Bass, Tracker Boats or whatever, Bass Pro Shop. You'll see those sponsors still on the wall. So it will tell sponsors, it's like, okay, so our car may not be out there, but we're still going to get seen. So basically what you say is, look, we can tell every sponsor that we can give you at least 15 to 20 minutes of solid time for your sponsor to be up there. And it'll just look like, and even for us watching at home, it's just going to look like banners on a wall. It's not like it's going to be on the actual track. It'll just be banners on the wall. It'll look like all the sponsorship we've seen a million times before, whether it's on billboards or on, banners or whatever. It'll look the same to us, but we'll still see the sponsorship. The sponsors will still get their money's worth because they can at least go during a 3.5 hour broadcast. We can still see our sponsorship up on the wall. We may not be watching our car, but we do still see our sponsorship. And then, of course, when it cuts to the car becomes a sponsor. That sponsor is no longer on the wall, and it's somebody else's sponsor that's no longer being shown. So you'll have to pick and choose when to put the sponsors up on the wall, because you can't put them all on at the same time, of course. 40 sponsors on at the same time doesn't really work. Or maybe you find a technology that whatever camera is working a certain part, every part of the wall has one of the 40 sponsors. Every part of the wall has a part of the sponsorship. And so whenever you go to those camera angles, it'll show those sponsors on that part of the wall. You could even do that. So then it just becomes, okay, whatever camera is projecting over here digitally, this is what we're seeing every single time. And then you just basically go, we got to guarantee 15 minutes to every single sponsor that's going to be up on that wall so that they don't get pissed off. That's basically what you have to do. Now, if it starts to get a little out of hand where they start going, well, this person got 37 minutes and I'm averaging only 32 minutes. Why do they get 5 more minutes every single race of sponsorship time? So then what NASCAR might have to get into would be something along the lines of, once a sponsor is seen for 15 minutes on that wall and they have got their 15 minutes of time on the wall, they pull them. Now maybe you give them a half hour on the wall, but whatever. But once they get a half hour of view time up on the broadcast, you pull them down so that everybody gets the same 30 minutes all the time. And it has to be when the sponsorship is in full view. This is going to take a lot of technology. I realize that. And we may be years away from it. And I think NASCAR, of course, will survive it. But I think that if they are able to go to the sponsors, if NASCAR is able to go to sponsors and say, this is what we have for the future, please come back and we will get you more exposure, maybe the sponsor money will come back. And maybe we can run full fields again. But if that doesn't work, we're going to have to cut costs in NASCAR. And that'll be another video for another time. It's like, if I can't get NASCAR more money, then we're going to have to tighten the wallet a little bit. And I'm going to have to figure out a way to make it cheaper to run a race team. and I'm wearing the glasses. So I think the power of the glasses will help me. My nerd power will help me figure out how to cut the... Just cut the budget. We're going to get rid of this. We're going to get rid of this. And then we're going to get NASCAR more money. We're going to cut some money out. And then we're going to try to bring in some smaller race teams. And we're going to try to get NASCAR its soul back. With all that being said, to the troops, past, present, and future, thanks for the freedom.